So did you grow up around here? No, right?
No, I grew up in Rockville Center, actually. I've lived in Long Beach since 2013.
Okay.
But nobody from Rockville Center would ever be um, incredibly defensive about somebody saying they're from Rockville Center if they were a homeowner that paid taxes, right? Like you
Right, right,
are
right.
from there at that point. So it's kind of a different thing here.
Where does your sense of kind of hometown pride come from? Did you grow up with that? Like you just like why do you love Long Beach?
It's just such a unique and differentiated community. The colorful natural makeup, the colorful people that live here, the pride in people take from living here. Um, it's a really simple observation, but you think about the vast majority of towns on Long Island. Is anybody going to wear a hoodie that says Massapequa Park or Rockville Center? No, but if you walk around Long Beach, you are going to see an endless parade of people rocking a Long Beach hat, Long Beach tank top, Long Beach shirt. There's just a cool cachet here about it that people want to be here, they want to live here, they want to visit here. And I think a lot of that is just due to the kind of the DNA of this town just being alive at all times. There's just always something to do. There's a parade, there's a community event, there's a fundraiser, there's live music. Doesn't matter if it's December or August. There's just always something going on here, and I think that makes it, really different and a destination for people.
Right. I think maybe part of it might get confusing because it is almost a like a I don't want to say vacation town, but it's a vacation spot for a lot of people. I think with the beach and with everything it has, so it's seasonal. So I wonder if that ebb and flow of like new faces and stuff, and some come back regularly and leave, some come and stay. I wonder if that like has an effect on it.
Yeah, I think that there's an interesting sort of distinction when I live in the West End, and you can kind of see starting in June, a lot of people start coming back to the block that are not there year round. So there's kind of this interesting. They all blend back together when everyone's in town, but there is sort of a camaraderie and bond between the people who are here year
Winter,
round and kind of stick it out. And I always find it funny. Sort of Long Beach has this. Sort of reputation for, oh, the winter must be very difficult, the off season must be terrible. It's like the entire Northeast is cold.
right, right.
Everywhere else is cold, and the majority of those places don't even have a high season to hang their hat on. So at least
Fair.
we have this very, very tall peak where we live. And then, speaking to what I was saying before, I really don't think the winter is that bad. I think that part of me has just lived on the Northeast my entire life, that I've convinced myself this is like a necessary truth that you kind of need to go through the sour to get to the sweet. And I do think that there is something to be said about people in Long Beach are so grateful and appreciative for the summer months because they do have to wade through all those winter months to get there. And I think that is really why the energy here during the summer is different, because those year-round people have just been waiting for
Mhm.
this all year. It's what they work for. It's what they get out of bed for. It's what they
Right,
wait for, what they anticipate.
right. Like I said, you have volleyball season to look forward to in November,
Yeah,
or starting in
yeah.
whatever. And you have stuff to look forward to, so it helps you kind of deal.
Or you could be like me and be a psycho and play indoors at Endless Summer in Oceanside, indoor beach volleyball. Again, that's like just another thing you can go
Right, right.
do in the winter. There's always anybody who anybody who's saying like Long Beach is boring in the winter. I think they're just making it like a doomer kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. There's
Right.
something for you to do if you look around, and I mean that's a lot of what my page promotes as well. Is just being a resource and guide for people of what's happening around town, whether that is a one-off event or live music, whatever else.
Right. Well, yeah, that's something I kind of noticed. I don't know if I'm noticing more. I'm just sure following page relatively new because you do promote a lot of local events and local businesses and concerts and things to do, um, and like the weekly specials and things like that. So has that always been like a feature of like, look, there is all this stuff to do, like stay here and do stuff, or what kind of priority is that?
I think initially with the account, it was kind of just having fun, um, being satirical, making memes, having a creative outlet.
Okay.
I graduated from NYU with a cinema studies degree, so I am very into visual arts, film in particular. So a lot of it was really just a creative outlet and using it to be sort of a cultural commentator of Long Beach through the lens of
Okay.
memes. Um, a lot of what I do for work is memes. I'm a director of a creative strategy at an agency called Doing Things, and I do content. A lot of it's memes for brands like Netflix, McDonald's, and a lot of these really big companies. So very much what I do with work and what I do with Long Beach memes is a two birds one stone thing. My mind is just constantly in trying to articulate like a relatable human truth and experience through a meme format. But in terms of sort of being an incubator of events and everything else going on in Long Beach, it was kind of born out of necessity. I think the memes are fun, but for me, it is a real creative challenge when you think about how narrow the guardrails are. If I ran a meme account that was more just talking about general life stuff, it could be about like needing to go to the bathroom in an inconvenient place,
Right.
something just very
Right.
generalized and widespread relatable, my life would be a lot easier. But the fact of the matter is, everything I make needs to pertain to the city of Long Beach, or at its widest, for the creative guardrails, would be like about the beach, which is still
Right.
pretty narrow. So after a while, that gets hard, but you keep working at it, and when you crack it, it's really rewarding. But with the compiling the food specials, the drink specials, the events, and everything else, there just really is not a centralized location for the people of Long Beach to find these things, or even business owners to see what other businesses are doing as well. It's all sort of sequestered in different places, right? Private Facebook groups with a terrible search functionality. I would say the city itself does not necessarily do a great job of creating a resource for all of this stuff. So I just kind of took it upon myself to start promoting those things. I know business owners have it really hard. They need to focus on running their business and taking care of their customers and turning a profit, which is harder than ever. And I think on top of that, these social media platforms, they're not social media managers by profession or trade. And it's just another thing that they need to do to get their stuff noticed. So I'm very, very proud and happy to use my platform to lighten the burden of them, of having an algorithm suppress the stuff that they're doing with their business. So I really feel a great sense of pride in helping to distribute, platform, promote them in that way, because I do have a bigger audience.
Okay. So do you see the page as like a hobby, like you said, a creative outlet? Is it a side gig? Is it just your brain's always going, so you need to get the thoughts out? Like, how do you approach the
it's absolutely a hobby. I think side gig is not the word. I think historically I've lost money running this account,
Sure.
which is crazy to think about, because when you really crunch the numbers, the amount of free promotion and impressions that I've given to these businesses that most influencers or pages of my size would charge people for,
Right.
I've probably given away hundreds of thousands of dollars in free promotion.
Right.
I do sell merch. There is some money there, but between the website hosting costs, cloud storage for all my content, everything else, it's very much a break-even enterprise. So to answer your question, I would say it's very much a love of the game situation. I do love it as a creative outlet. My brain is just always thinking of trying to tie, again, these relatable Long Beach experiences through a humorous lens. So it's really fun in that sense, and just seeing people say like, "Oh, this is very funny," or like, "So real," all this other stuff, and like hitting a nerve in a good way is very rewarding. But even more than that, I think, going back to kind of what the page does for local businesses and everything else, when I go into a business where I know the owner, or I check my DMs and somebody says like, "Hey, thank you for sharing this. Somebody came in and purchased something and they mentioned they saw their post," like, that is far and away the most rewarding thing for me. Just giving back to our community in that sense and helping people out.
Okay. Yeah, because you do a lot. You post, like, it seems like every couple of days a post goes up, and it's 15, 20
Yeah.
images or memes
I
per
can give
post.
you I can give you the numbers. I think the past 2 years were over 650 memes.
Okay.
But to your point, yeah, I kind of just do them in batches. I don't really
Okay.
believe in doing like a one-off piece of content. Like I believe in dropping 10, 15, 20
Right.
things
Right.
at a time.
But the time commitment has to be.
The time commitment's insane. It's
Yeah.
hundreds or thousands of hours at this point. And, that's sitting at the computer and actually putting these things together, but it's also sitting around and like thinking about these things and thinking how to crack them, because I'll have something happen to me in Long Beach, some sort of unique Long Beach experience, right? Like waiting in line at the Cabana bathroom and there's only one stall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll think about that and I'll be like, oh, people will get that. And I'll write it in my notepad. And then meanwhile, in a separate sort of work stream, I'll see a meme format somewhere and I'll be like, this is funny, but I don't know what it's for. I put that in a folder. And then eventually these two things start getting married together. And that's how kind of the memes get made. And, a lot of what I have fun with is, I think you'll notice that some of the content that gets the most traction and what I've trying to do more of is just commenting on like local current events. That could be Michael Wasserman, Trump flag guy, and his lawsuit. It could be the ban in e-bikes on the boardwalk. A couple years ago, it was like the beach passes got rid of the numbers and now they're scan only. People really like the local news
Mm-hmm.
angle. People like to complain, but people also like to just discuss it. But another thing I really have fun with is just playing into what's going on in pop culture at the time and trying to give that a Long Beach twist. Like recently, I did that post of
The back rooms.
what's the back rooms of Long Beach, and that ended up sending me down this rabbit hole of the Air China building and all these other things. So you never know where you're going to end up. A couple years ago, I did Barbenheimer when Barbie and Oppenheimer were out, and I was sitting there thinking, like, how do you tie this into Long Beach? But then eventually it comes through, and it takes some time. But again, it's very rewarding in the end to kind of find that very narrow angle into, that comment, that event.
Right. Right. Because how do you balance the creative part versus kind of advocating for the city and the small businesses, like the fun stuff versus the more serious stuff, I guess is the
I
easier way
think
to say it.
they are kind of in different lanes in the sense that you have the feed and you have stories.
Okay.
You have the feed and then you have stories and
Yeah, yeah,
highlights,
yeah.
right? And the interesting thing about Instagram in general, in terms of how the average person uses it, is that it has really changed in recent years when people post to the feed. The feed has become sort of a place for major life events, an engagement,
Right.
a first birthday party, a baby being born, a pregnancy announcement, a wedding, all this sort of stuff, the casual photo dump after 4 months, right? So the feed for the average person has sort of become this sort of sacred space, and the stories is where you kind of see a peek into someone's sort of day-to-day life. For me, the feed is Long Beach Memes is like a brand. So I'm not that precious about what goes on the feed. If I feel like something is interesting, discussion worthy, if I find it funny,
Right.
it's going to go on the feed, and that's where kind of the news commentary and talking, whether it's a unique news event or it's the annual Irish Day, right? Like that's going to go on the feed. The stuff for the businesses is going to go on stories and highlights, just because I feel like that is a better place for it to be seen and shared. So I kind of keep those two things separate within the
Okay.
Instagram ecosystem, which does make my life a bit easier. At the end of the day, I feel like if the feed was really comprised of a lot of business flyers, it just would not be that engaging or interesting.
Right.
I'm always trying to think about what is going to, specifically on the feed, I'm trying to think about what is going to get somebody to see this and share it, because the share is like the golden metric of the algorithm on Instagram. So what are they going to see on my page on the feed that is going to make them say, this is so me, this is so us, this is so you, and actually send it to somebody? So a lot of times I'm just trying to speak into, relatability being the secret sauce of shareability, right? Like, what is the human truth and the human insight about life in Long Beach that is going to make somebody share it? And then again, stories and highlights are more of an informational resource for the community. Meanwhile, the feed is just like me being weird, cracking jokes.
That works. You're your profession, your training as a social media expert. Is that kind of why you settled on Instagram with all the social media outlets available, or is that just convenience? Is it just the best tool for the job, or what?
I think Instagram was the first to market for the page.
Okay.
And I do find that my audience and the kind of cultural references I pull in through the memes and the jokes I make and the language I use, it's very much a zillennial audience. It's Gen Z and it's millennials. Every piece of content I put up and I look at the age demographic breakdown, they are the ones who are seeing it. They are the ones who are the most engaged with it. Nobody's on Twitter anymore. I love Twitter.
You technically have a Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, I do have a Facebook, but I think if you think the Instagram algorithm is restrictive and inscrutable, the Facebook algorithm is even worse. And I just don't think, to what you were saying before about like the way I think about and put out content, those 10, 15, 20 frame swiping carousel drips, they just don't work as well on Facebook. So it's kind of like a matter of logistics and what the platform demands. And I just think Instagram is more of a platform that plays into sort of the absurdist tendencies of meme culture and social media. I think when you scroll on Facebook and you see what memes kind of break through there, it's boomer stuff. And the fact of the matter is that most of the reasons that people are using Facebook now, this kind of ties into how user behavior has changed on Instagram, about how the average person approaches the feed and approaches stories and everything else, right? People on Facebook are mostly just using it for groups now, like Long Beach City or I Love Long Beach, New York, or LB Eats. Most of my feed on Facebook is just stuff and discussions that are happening in there. But I do feel like kind of the utility of my page compared to those groups is that it's very hard to find what you're looking for in those Facebook groups. The search function is very bad.
There's so much.
The volume, especially if it's unmoderated or not moderated well, the volume of stuff, you have to sift through a lot of things to find what you're looking for. Whereas my page, if you go to the This Week in Long Beach highlight, you're going to find what live music is in town. You're going to find what specials are in town. Or if you saw something in the news, I might put up a post and comment about it, as well as, clip a Herald article or a Newsday article and kind of put that within the feed as well. So it's all about, with the use of Instagram, I think it's more organized. It's easier for people to find what they want and what they need.
That makes sense. Like video is big, but I think the kind of stuff you're doing doesn't really translate to necessarily videos.
I hate doing reels. Okay. And I think I would love doing reels were it not for the way that Instagram distributes them. Instagram kind of approaches your content being served to non-followers as a good thing. That's not a good thing for me. My page is very hyper specific. It's very hyper local. If it gets out of that containment, people don't get it and they click off. And then the algorithm sees, the non-followers are not liking this reel. We are not going to serve this reel, which for me just sucks because I need my followers to see it because they're the ones who get it. So not doing video is really a matter of, I hate the way it gets distributed and it's just not conducive to, the type of content I make. But also I just have more fun with static memes. They're just classics. What's going on?
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm best friends since kindergarten there.
That's funny.
But yeah, video, I'm just like, I like static memes more. I just think they're more fun. I don't know. It's just they're just classic to me. Especially as someone who kind of, I won most likely to be online in high school. I graduated class of 2007. When I was in elementary school, I was making websites on XPage and AngelFire. In high school, I would distribute music illegally through my AOL Instant Messenger get file. In college, I was the person who took photos and categorized them on PhotoBucket and Facebook and put them up for everyone. So Long Beach Memes is really just an extension of my lifelong relationship with the internet and always just trying to have that creative outlet or a platform to just like promote my brain, because it's just, I always have a lot to say. And I think having this outlet is really important to getting my thoughts out there. And the fact that I finally have one that people really resonate with and care about is cool. It's very rewarding.
Okay. Did you want to be an influencer when you grew up? Like, was that always the goal to do this professionally, or you just couldn't help but use this as an outlet for your creativity?
I kind of fell into it. I mean, honestly, coming out of college, I wanted to be a film critic and an author. That didn't quite work out. I went into journalism at Huffington Post as a small business reporter and then a technology reporter. So around the time Instagram got acquired for $1 billion, actually, from Facebook is when I was a technology reporter. And at the time, it's so funny because everybody thought it was so insane that Facebook paid $1 billion for Instagram. And in retrospect, it's one of the greatest business deals in history in terms of the value. Instagram produces like $1 billion in revenue every week, kind of thing. I've never had an intention or a desire to be anonymous. Like I said, I'm really proud of what I do with the page, and I care a lot about it. So, and it's cool to care about things. It's cool to be really passionate about your community and your creative endeavors and everything else. So, I don't see any reason to hide. If I were using my platform to constantly disparage businesses or talk trash about city government, maybe I do occasionally do those things, but it's all in good fun, and it's very much a small sliver of what I do. Because at the end of the day, if I'm going to be somebody who's commentating on the experience of living in this city, you do need to be honest about the places, the areas where it could improve too.
Right. No, I think that's fair. It's. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I almost see it like the page as part kind of court gestury. Look at what's going on here. In a positive way, but also in a optimistically mocking way, kind of, depending on the topic.
Yeah. I think I'd like to think of my page a lot of the time as sort of a palate cleansing sorbet between 20 courses of mud as you're scrolling through social media, because there's so much negativity, there's so much bad news, and it's sort of suffocating, all-encompassing, and unavoidable. And I would like to think that the vast majority of what I post is kind of a reprieve and a refresher from that. So I do try to keep things light, just because there is enough negativity. But to your point about being, critical and honest about things, I think when something comes up that I do feel needs addressing, I will speak to it. I think right now one of the big things I'm doing is the Art Center. I'm trying to. I put up a post about the closure of the Long Beach Cinema 4, formerly the Lido Theater, 100-year-old theater. Now it's a Chipotle and a Jersey Mike's. That's a very sticky sort of thing to say. We lost our theater and now it's being sold to private equity chains, right? So the target of my ire there is not a local elected official. It's a multinational, international corporation. So that's little guy fighting the big guy. So I think people can really rally around that. But something like the Art Center, I think it's trying to think about things that the city needs and using my platform in turn to sort of raise awareness and enthusiasm for a given thing. I put up that Art Center post, and within 24 hours I had 30 volunteers. And right now I have a team of legal, real estate, nonprofit, grant writing professionals. We're meeting every other week to talk about how we are going to make this happen. I was at the Bayfront Resiliency Study on Monday night, talking to city people about the allotment of land and what their plans are and everything else. So, that's another thing with the page. I think if you can actually use it to facilitate real world change for our community, that's even better, in addition to just, again, cracking jokes.
Right. So, if somebody hasn't seen the Art Center post, what is going on with the Art Center? What are you pushing for? What are you discussing?
We're just talking about the fact that Long Beach has no sort of dedicated space meant to fulfill the passions of adults who love art in the community. Or
there is a big arts.
There's a tremendous.
But there's no centralized.
There's no centralized location for adults who have an appetite for the arts, or young people who want to develop a passion for the arts, whether that's going to school or having a career, getting on the job training, and everything else. And I think this could be a real value and resource to our community. And I'm under no illusion that this is going to be an easy process, but I do think it is a true, real, genuine need and could be of tremendous value added to the city of Long Beach. This is all very much in its infancy, but this is this is one of the first times I've really tried to use the page to get a team together and actually build something IRL as opposed to just in the the digital realm, right?
Okay. And you said it's moving forward. It's a possibility. It's not just theory.
Again, very much in its infancy,
Okay.
but this is we have a team. We meet bi-weekly. There's sort of discussions going on about the trademarking of the name, developing a brand identity, trademarking a logo.
Right.
Right. I have an Instagram page that has 300 followers right now for it. I have registered the .com and .org domain names. So trying to make things happen in the background and sort of taking care of these smaller things before going into developing a 501c3 and scouting out, art spaces, bringing a proposal to the city, right? There's a ton of work to be done. This is going to be sort of a multi-year project, but it is something I'm really passionate about and something I want to make happen and have a real impact on the city.
That works. I know a lot of people are kind of reluctant or hesitant and curious about like big chains coming into like a Chipotle, like there's a Crunch Fitness coming in over wherever. Like large businesses versus the neighborhood small businesses that are either long term or trying to get established. Is that a genuine concern, genuine issue, or is that something worth noting? Is that a positive, or is that just business in town?
I think it's tough to kind of draw the line at which point it becomes like a blight on the community. I do think in a dream world, it would all be independently owned, small businesses and everything else, and we would retain sort of the character and quirkiness of the community. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's the world we live in right now with the cost of living, the cost of goods and services, people getting squeezed further to the margins. I think this is the unfortunate end product of all that, that we end up with soulless chains in town. There's sort of always been two arguments to this. One person would say, oh my God, not a chain. The other person would say, would you rather this was vacant? And I do think, as much of a cop-out as it is, you need to meet somewhere in the middle. There can be a chain here, but if the community rallied around and said, we're not going to support this business, obviously with corporate backing, that place is going to have a longer runway before they make the decision that it is not sustainable to be in Long Beach because the community is not rallying behind them. But it is on people to support local. And I do think that, having a larger scale business here is not going to prohibit people from patronizing local businesses. I think the real problem is like rent and greedy landlords and everything else. Like look at the Starbucks next to the library. I think they want $30,000 a month. Where Pliables just went out where Rain was, I think that's $4,500 a month. These things are just not realistic. So I do think a lot of the onus goes on to the landlords and the developers and the owners of these places not making it feasible for a small business to even come in the first place, let alone thrive and be profitable, right?
Yeah, part of that is like it's business and it's just the numbers, but also if we can work around. And I'm a big fan of voting with your dollar.
Yeah,
like that. I think at the end of the day, I think that has a big impact. So that's
of course.
All right. So this is big, broad question to wrap things up. What is your favorite and or the best part of the community?
It's a great question. I think it's just the neighborliness of it all. I live on, you can just say West End. And when I walk down, my one block, it can take me 10 minutes to walk that one block because I'm saying hello to everybody
Mm-hmm.
on my block. Is that sort of a product of the fact that nobody in the West End has a backyard, so they're all hanging out in their front yard and you need to say hello to each other? Maybe, but people could very well not say hello to each other.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, people are so ingrained in each other's daily lives in a really good way that is not invasive. I think there's just this community. It speaks to the larger thing I love about this community, and it's that everybody really cares about Long Beach, but they all really care about each other. I think you can see this when, you know, the OG Sorrento's goes on fire or somebody gets sick and has medical bills. Within a week or two, there is a bar hosting an event for them, and the bar is packed out.
Mm-hmm.
The fundraiser is over its fundraising goal. People just really come together for each other here, and it's a beautiful thing to see, especially in this world where I think we are more divided and fractured than ever. The fact that Long Beach and this community are so easily able to congeal and rally around a common cause in the service of good is just it's wholesome. It's great.
Cool.